We've got someone running into a house fire to say, "Yeah, but you suck!" Another arguable story between comments that seem to have ignited a lot of personal experiences and references to extreme cases of people doing anything to avoid confessing to their partners. For now though, welcome, hello, my name is Jack. You are a snack because you're watching this video, that makes you a good person. And today we're going to begin with this entertaining entitlement of a churchgoer wanting to do good as long as everyone says they're a good person for it. My friend's hosting a banquet to honor veterans with free meals, but now wants to cancel after some attendees asked to not be posted on her social media. She also told our friend group to no longer volunteer. So Ellen and I have been friends for a few years, and we're both in the same friend group too. Ellen will be graduating with her bachelor's this December, and she's an assistant manager in a fast food joint. She also has a side gig that she's talked about growing post-college, and that is her Instagram or TikTok, where she discusses many events with her opinions. However, she told me, and a few of our friends, that she didn't want a graduation party because she didn't like to celebrate herself and chose not to have a high school graduation, but that she wanted to do something else with the money her parents wanted to throw a party with. See, her parents originally wanted to rent a restaurant room for her party, but no, instead of doing something for herself, she said she felt led to do something for others with the space her parents wanted to rent, and that was gathering to honor veteran families from her church with a free dinner banquet. She also hopes to invite everyone that her parents wanted to invite to her graduation party. Her parents, both our leaders, liked the idea and brought it to their church, and someone there offered to host the gathering in one of the church's conference rooms to save money, along with offering to pay for some of the food catering too. Ellen said the theme of the party was to honor veterans outside of Veterans Day, and the church announced it during a recent Sunday service, along with sign-ups following the service. The church also sent a video which she made explaining her motivation for the event in an email newsletter. The video explained that she had veteran relatives that she wanted to honor for some time, and she also posted it to her socials. The video also stated that clips from the event would be posted to her socials afterward. Ellen also explained how she wanted the money her parents planned to spend on her graduation to go to something good instead of nothing, because she didn't want a graduation party. She also stated that Facebook's birthday fundraisers gave her the idea to do something for others. So a lot of saying the same thing over and over again. We get it, Ellen. You want to help others. Please note I am doing heavy finger quoting as I say that. Ellen asked our friend group to help decorate and be servers, and many of us volunteered, myself included, because we would have gone to her party if she had one. Now, Ellen also said she received compliments at church for the ideas she had post-announcement. Ellen also wanted to do a ceremony where she'd acknowledge each veteran and give them a goodie bag. She asked us to help with goodie bag ideas. However, when her parents informed her that some people who signed up through the church told the church that they didn't want to be on social media, it led to a change in Ellen's demeanor that led to me making this post. Now to clarify, some people, less than 5, didn't feel comfortable being online. So when Ellen planned to call each veteran onto the stage to give them a gift, some people wanted to be edited out of walking on stage. Ellen vented to our group about how the church asked for certain people to be edited out of the ceremony recording before posting to social media, and Ellen plans to record with her equipment. The church even offered to have the church's video editors edit her video to make it easier, along with offering to record it on church cameras too, but she was upset because she didn't want to split video credit, nor heed those requests. She said that the people who requested were being entitled when they were receiving free food. But when her parents told her that she was being unreasonable, she said she should have never created the event and didn't want to be told how to make my videos. She also said she'd rather cancel because the veterans should be thanking me instead of complaining. But when her parents said that video consent was important when posting online, she told them to cancel the banquet, but was told that it wasn't completely in their hands after getting the church involved and using their venue and help with catering costs, along with people already signed up. So when one of our friends asked if the point of the event was to honor veterans, as she originally said, she said the event would have been about me if she had a graduation. But when I said that honoring the request seemed proper to do, she questioned if I was on her side. She also said she shouldn't do something nice for others if I wasn't getting anything out of it. She then said we were done volunteering because she was going to have it cancelled. When we suggested calming down before cancelling emotionally, well, she didn't like that either. However, what made me most disappointed was when she made a video stating that her parents didn't allow her to have a graduation party, thus why she created the Veterans Party as an alternative, although she was suppressing how she felt. She also said she planned to sue for emotional distress if they didn't cancel the banquet at the church, and she deleted her previous videos discussing the party. Mind you, we have yet to get to the update. When some of us reached out to her afterward, she admitted to one of our friends that she lied in the video about not being allowed to have a graduation party to try and stop the banquet, and hearing that changed my opinion of her. The party is scheduled for January, and many of us have already begun helping with preparations, not to mention those who already signed up to attend. Look, I'm sorry my post was long, but this is my question. What would be the best way to handle this situation? We previously met at Ellen's home to discuss decorations and goodie bag ideas, but that was before Ellen's change, and some of us, myself included, are still supposed to be servers. I'm debating reaching out to her parents to see if she's alright and the status of the party, because some of our friends think she's struggling with some sort of emotional breakdown, but a few others think she only cared about making the video her way and getting views. If Ellen is truly suffering, I want to help her. I'm going to call her parents to see if she's alright, but we've never seen her act like this before. I also don't believe in ghosting the commitment, so that's another reason I'm going to call them. But if anyone has any other advice, I'd really appreciate it, as I'm open to anything. And thanks to anyone who read all of that too. Pretty similar thoughts in the comments. Not all suffering deserves empathy and softness. She's hurt that her selfish plans aren't being catered to, and that nobody is on her side. Pity the entitled. As I'm sure we all can clearly see, she only organized the event so she could post on social media and get some good clout. This was never about helping others, it was about selling out their suffering for her business. Attempt to create a business. So after all that moral understanding that your friend lacks any morals, we get an update 4 days later. When I made my last post, I said I was going to call Ellen's parents after Ellen didn't return 2 calls I made after questioning if I was on her side during her rant about regretting creating the banquet, etc. A few of the others in our friend group also called because we didn't believe in ghosting a commitment, and we had already begun creating giveaways and decoration ideas previously with Ellen. So when I called, I decided to call her mum. We'll call her Joy. I told her that I called to ask about the banquet status, along with how Ellen was doing, and told us not to volunteer anymore. And she said she appreciated me calling. She also said she was aware of Ellen's video slandering them and asked her to remove it, but hasn't as of yet. She said they were going through a lot as a family, but that she appreciated me inquiring after I told her I didn't believe in ghosting commitments. She confirmed that the banquet was still on and that she'd still love for us to volunteer because canceling would be wrong to everyone involved, and especially the veteran families attending. She also confirmed the argument Ellen said she had with them about canceling. She also said she and her husband were debating how to handle the video and her recent behavior. Basically, they told Ellen she was overreacting to a simple request to edit 2 veterans out of the video when there were dozens of people signed up. Wow, so at this point, it wasn't like a whole group of people, it was just 2 people of the at minimum 10 or 12, so in total maybe 5 minutes of the night that she'd have to edit away. Oh man, what a big ordeal. When I told her that many of us were surprised by Ellen's sudden shift, she told me something I never knew. When Ellen decided not to have a high school graduation when they offered to throw her one, she began complaining after hearing how some friends received a lot of money at their graduations. So when they asked if she still wanted a graduation party, albeit much later into the summer than they would have initially, she blamed them for not throwing one for me, instead of asking because she hated planning parties for myself. So when she declined, they offered to take her to dinner with a few friends if she wanted something smaller, but she said no and that it was too late. So when it came to her college graduation, they were certain she'd want one this time, but was surprised when she didn't. Joy said she made a mistake by enabling Ellen when Ellen blamed her indecisiveness on them. I mean, they did give her a graduation gift though. However, she said she wasn't giving in to her tantrum this time by canceling the party after getting others involved. Yes, this banquet was entirely Ellen's idea, and yes, it never would have been created without her. However, Joy said that that wasn't a reason to disrespect everyone she got involved. When Ellen told her parents how she wanted to honor relatives who were veterans that she was close with, she also told them she felt led by God to do it, and they thought it was a wonderful idea if she wasn't comfortable with a party for herself. However, in light of her tantrum about refusing to share video editing credit the church never asked for, and gave Ellen the choice to edit the veterans out herself because she felt offended by the veterans' request, Joy said it was her fault for not teaching her earlier to not be entitled and to accept advice and constructive criticism, and she said she should have put her foot down a long time ago. They fully paid for her tuition to go to college, and they're, rightfully, insulted about her threat to sue them. I told her that Ellen admitted to a friend that she lied in the video to stop the banquet, and Joy said it'd be good for Ellen to learn now that she won't always get her way before getting married and being a drama queen when planning her wedding day, and she said she spoke to a few others in our friend group about still volunteering too. So as of now, I'm still volunteering, and I consider my friendship with Ellen over. I'll definitely update after the banquet, and I appreciate the comments reinforcing my beliefs to follow through on the commitment. There's one more thing I wanted to add. I'm not personally religious, but I've volunteered in the past. I enjoy doing it and simply saw this as a volunteer event in a church, and I've done previous food drives connected to churches when I was younger. I hope the event goes well and that Ellen comes to her senses, but even if it requires this situation to learn she can't always get her way, maybe that'll help her long term. I've called her a few more times since my first post as a last-ditch effort, but she never answered still. Honestly, I don't think we even need an update to this. It feels kind of resolved. I suppose if we're curious how Ellen evolves from this life experience, as much as a clearly self-absorbed, entitled piece of poop comes to be, she is clearly still a young adult, and hey, gotta give him some leeway to grow, otherwise what's the point in even growing? We now move on to a story where the comments seem to literally worship the OP for being a downright a-hole. Am I the a-hole for supposedly stirring up the pot in my sister's marriage because of a past grudge? I am 26 female, and I have an older sister, 28, with whom I'm still nursing a past grudge. When we were in high school, she started dating my first love. She knew I liked him, and not only she didn't care one bit, she even rubbed it into my face that she got the guy I wanted. Worst of all, she didn't even like him that much because she ended up cheating on him with a college freshman. So to me, the only reason she even seemed to have dated him was to spite him and me. So back to the present. My sister's now married to her husband, a 31 male, a different guy from both of the previously mentioned ones, whom she found out that he was cheating on her a couple of months ago. Their marriage has been in shambles ever since then, but my sister's still trying to save it. Honestly, I can't say that I'm feeling sorry for her at all. All of us went to one of our cousin's baby showers, and there, my sister was publicly requesting her husband to let her check his phone. That started an argument between them where her husband asked why he's never allowed to check her phone as well, and my sister said some stuff about she's never been unfaithful, unlike him. Oh no. Something in me just couldn't allow that lie to go by, and I seriously asked her, "You're freaking joking, right?" She asked me what the hell I was talking about, and I reminded her of how she dated my first love back in high school and how she ended up cheating on him just like her husband did to her. A huge circus followed after where her husband accused her of being a cheater herself and a hypocrite, and where my sister tried to argue that it was different and it doesn't compare to what he did to her. Other family members tried to break up their arguments afterwards, but then my sister came at me, yelling that I'm a sad, pathetic excuse of a human being who has nothing going on in her life than to stir the pot in other people's lives, and I ended up cursing her pretty badly as well. Safe to say, cousin's birthday has been ruined. The atmosphere in our family has been incredibly awkward since then, and my sister and her husband haven't spoken to me since that incident, and my parents are blaming me for the fact that my sister will probably not show up at our Christmas dinner and for making the atmosphere in our entire family bad. Am I the a-hole? So what do you think? You think people loving this pettiness is justified? Totally fine. A moment of revenge that certainly was cold, but the dish you served, freshly cooked platter. Even some people accusing you of all sucking. But I probably would have done it too. Others arguing that you're not the a-hole because your sister was trying to get a free pass for being a huge hypocrite, which I can see that. I mean, regardless of the circumstances they were in when this confrontation happened, would you not feel morally obligated to inform someone that their partner has a thorough past of spitefulness and cheating, especially when they themselves are being accused of being being that very person. Others arguing at most everyone sucks here, making points like jumping into the fray when it was clearly just between the sister and the husband, ruining a family event purely out of grudge, and for basically shooting yourself in the foot all this time by holding this grudge. I mean, sure, you found the guy cute, but you don't owe him anything for him being cheated on and getting with a scummy person. And here's the thing with some people's esh arguments. They argue the sister sucks for dating a guy she knew her sister was into and stuff, but that's really, if you think about it, it's got nothing actually to do with this current circumstances. As much as I think the sister is a piece of work, is she still cheating now? Is she cheating on the husband? I think it's because of those factors that the OP actually doesn't really get the free pass I think she might have in this circumstance. It seems her only true motivation is feeling upset that a guy she clearly cared about a lot got hurt by the sister. So this might be a bit of a hot take, but I honestly think you're the a-hole. I just feel like anything that's happened in this story purely instigated by you. You could have just sat back and enjoyed your sister's marriage falling apart based on her own, getting what she gave everyone else. You should have waited till she was finally divorced and been like, wow, sucks to be cheated on, hey. But anyway, what do you think? You think this is an esh, an ata, a yita? Let me know what you think. And for now, let's move on to the next story. Another story with some very mixed opinions. I didn't tell my fiancé I quit my job 6 days ago. He asked about it today and I came clean. He feels like this is a huge breach of trust and feels like there is a chasm between us now. He's now reevaluating the relationship. So I started a job on the 30th of October. Immediately, I knew it was not a right fit. I did not like the work, did not have any training, and the position was different than what I thought it was. I told my fiancé this repeatedly. His reaction was the same. To stick it out, that starting a new job is always tough until you get the hang of it. Look, I totally understand that sentiment. Every time I brought up how unhappy I was, I got the same reaction. So I stopped talking to him about it. Now I've worked and onboarded quite a few jobs in my life, working seasonally with the park service and the forest service, so I generally know my learning curve and what I consider normal in a job. This was not the normal learning curve. I definitely take part of the blame of looking past some red flags because the job was with a company I really admire, but also, the job was kind of misrepresenting and doesn't fall in line with my skills or desired career path. Anyways, I quit last Thursday. Kind of premeditated, kind of on a whim since I am rarely in the office with my supervisor and wanted to give them plenty of time to repost the job posting over the holidays and wanted to start the new year fresh. Fiancé casually asked me today about it, first time, and said he doesn't want me to quit before the new year. At this point, I already quit 6 days ago. I told him that. Calm discussion about it. He said this took him by surprise, understandably. Well, roll around to a couple hours later and he's not so okay with it anymore. His ex-wife cheated and left him years ago. He said this is how it started out, with her making decisions without him and telling him after the fact. He feels like a huge chasm has opened up between us now because of this. I mean, is he overreacting? Or am I overreacting and did something we can't return from? I know what I did was bad and I feel terrible. I did not try to cover anything up or justify why I didn't tell him in the first place. Shame and embarrassment play a big role, of course. I don't know what to say, and how that me not telling him I quit my job means I'm going to go up and leave the relationship or continually omit info and lie to him. Please note, money and finances is not an issue in this case. So this story got shared to Am I the Devil because it turns out a lot of people have experiences of partners doing this. Some not being informed until months later that their partners dropped out of studying, and others going on about literal murder stories. Because it turns out there are people who would rather kill their parents and loved ones than having them learn the truth. Someone even bringing up the story of a guy in France who went way overboard with this. A man named Jean-Claude Ramond. Jean-Claude Ramond? We're gonna go with that. And honestly, I'm just gonna read the Wikipedia entry. Maybe this is what OP's fiancé is afraid is gonna happen to him. So, studying as a medical student, Ramond told friends and family that he had passed the first and second year medical examinations in 1975, when in fact, he had purposely avoided taking either. He never qualified as a doctor, which was unknown by his parents. 18 years, Ramond posed as a successful medical professional and researcher in the World Health Organization. He claimed that he had researched arterials and that he had contact with political figures. In reality, he spent his days wandering and used the free information services of the local WHO building. He lived close by in this town in France, and periodically, he left for a supposed work trip, but traveled only as far as the Geneva International Airport and spent a couple of days in a hotel room there, studying medical journals and a travel guide about the various countries he lied about visiting. Ramond lived off the money his wife and he made by selling an apartment, from his wife's salary and from money given to him by various relatives, who were told that he was investing it in various hedge funds and foreign ventures. Now, Jean-Claude Ramond is the only witness to the death of his father-in-law, Pierre Crollet, on 23rd of October 1988. Pierre had a fatal fall on the stairs of his house a few days after asking for reimbursement of part of his financial investment. When the rescuers arrived on the scene, they claimed to have heard Pierre stammer, Jean-Claude ma, as in Jean-Claude missing verbed me. But before Jean-Claude intervened to put an oxygen mask on the face of his father-in-law, Pierre Crollet died of his injuries a few days later without waking up. The courts ruled it an accident and Ramond was not prosecuted, later organizing his father-in-law's funeral and launching a fundraiser. He subsequently diverted all donations. Already sounding like an upstanding citizen. Now on January 9th, 1993, Ramond withdrew 2,000 francs, $2,000, and borrowed a rifle from his father, for which he purchased a suppressor and gas canisters and asked for them to be gift-wrapped. That night, according to authorities, he beat his wife to death on the couple's double bed with a rolling pin. He left her body until the morning, sleeping as normal. The next morning, he woke his children, had breakfast and watched cartoons with them. He put them to bed that night and, once they had fallen asleep, he shot them both in the head. After these killings, the only people who could expose him were his parents and his ex-mistress, who wanted back 900,000 francs that she had given him as a favor. The next morning, Ramond traveled to his parents' house where he joined them for a meal. Immediately after the meal, he repeatedly shot both of them and the family dog. That night, he picked up his ex-mistress, telling her they were invited to a dinner with the then health minister Bernard Kouchner. Pretending that they were lost, he made her get out of the car and attempted to strangle her with a cord, spraying tear gas into her face. When she fought back, he apologized and drove her back to her home after making her promise never to tell anyone about his attempt to murder her. He then returned to his family home, which still contained the bodies of his dead wife, children, and dog. Hey, look, sorry about trying to literally kill you. Can it just be between us? Sorry, I was having a moment. God, I mean, okay, look, in her defense, what would you do? Successfully fighting off your murderer, to which he is literally the only one who can get you to safety right now. It's kind of understandable she'd just go along with it. He sat and watched television before he poured petrol around the house, set it on fire, and took an overdose of sleeping pills. Whether this attempt was genuine is doubtful, since some writers have pointed out the pills he took were long expired and he had access to more effective barbiturates. Barbiturates? He was rescued by local firefighters who were alerted by the road cleaners at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so in the aftermath, he was found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment and only became eligible for parole in 2015, successfully getting out in 2019, where he was in the custody of a monastery and is believed to suffer from narcissistic personality disorder. So yeah, huge tangent from the original story, but yeah, it's fascinating the lengths people will go to avoid just confessing to friends and family that they're not actually what they're doing or who they are saying they are. Hell, there's even a girl in Canada who tried to kill her parents through a home invasion robbery stick-up, of which the mum did die but the dad didn't, just to avoid having to tell her parents that she's been lying about school for like the last 5 years. End of the day, lesson to learn: if someone doesn't want to tell you something, maybe for the sake of your existence, just don't ask. Don't pry any further. Some other points to make to the original issue though. It is important to note here that it does seem like that the fiance was kind of just dismissing all of OP's fears about this workplace. So do you think it's valid for us to think, well, this is kind of on the fiance's fault for clearly not acknowledging that OP is not happy where they are? Like, mate, you kind of should have seen this coming. Another, though, brings up a point on the fiance's side. He's clearly connecting your lack of honesty and communication with what his ex-wife did. Stuff like that doesn't just go from 0 to 100 and the next day you're suddenly cheating. This is how it starts. One might argue that So what if you feel like he's not listening to you? It's one thing to dismiss your worries. It's not the same as outright removing a source of income between you two just because you wanted to. You know? As another commenter says, it might be an issue where just OP is habitually thinking like a single person. That's her job. He shouldn't have a say on her career and life decisions. But I think it's a bit more than that. Like, regardless of them saying that their finances are totally fine, etc., you suddenly having no job and you also avoiding it all, talking about it, puts your partner in a completely different position than what they expected in the first place. While I think the fiancé is kind of being a bit dramatic based on a past baggage, I do think they also are valid to kind of be upset at the OP. But what do you think, though? We can wrap things up there for today. Curious what you think about it all. In the meantime, make sure you're drinking your water, especially if you're down here in Australia. My God, 41 degrees Celsius yesterday. The wind wasn't wind, it was oven fan heat. Anyway, I'm gonna throw some ice all over me like someone trying to preserve a dead body, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.